Let's just click start and see what happens. It's cold in Ireland, so I have this on. But I think we're live. If we're not live, we're gone. Okay, so welcome folks. This is Mirena. Tonight I've just decided to do a quick run through some really simple basic examples, quick run through for anyone confused of how to start Mirena, how to get a basic run through. We're going to do, these are all just examples by the way, but when you open Mirena, you're going to see a big button there. You're going to click launch. It's going to say launch the full Mirena 20 agent stack plus generate a fully expanded user guide. When you click that, you'll be prompted to obviously, if you haven't already, purchased your license for Mirena, and after which you'll be given an email, the same email that you use through Stripe. You'll be prompted to put it in here. So you put it in there, you click enter, and you'll be prompted then just to confirm that. So that'll send an API call back to the auth flow for Stripe, and it should activate. When it activates, this should happen. You should unlock Mirena fully, and it will give you a full rundown of what Mirena is, each agent within the stack. As you see, persistent background agents. These are always on. So you have stylometry. This is a dynamic persona. It's not set to one style. It will adjust and adapt to whatever context you want to put it to. There's blacklist agents in there. That's set to remove a lot of the fluffy AI words. It's not set to remove them all because we can't go playing whack-a-mole, deleting the entire English language from a lexicon of words. I've also left in long dashes just to trigger you all. But all AI content should be optimized after, regardless of the process that you put it through. Always get a human touch at the end. So right now, I'm not lazy enough to remove dashes. I can do that myself at the end. Again, any one of these agents, you can always expand on it and ask to go in depth, and it will list the features, frame semantics, NLP, the multi-agent knowledge sharing. These are things that make all the agents work together. So each one listed along here. As I said, if you want a full explainer from any one of those, just highlight it and say expand on that agent or tell me more about it, and it will. But you'll see each one's function as we go down through anyway. So you go through all of the steps. I strongly recommend you go through all of the steps. Mirena is designed to do hundreds of different tasks around SEO, but I presume most of you will want it to produce content. But it can produce everything from the topical maps, from actually designing a site, even from the ground up, navigation, everything. So content audits, the list is really endless. And it still has obviously all the functions of ChatGPT. So whatever you were doing before, SEO wise, this will just help you do it a bit better. So the article or the guide will fully load here, like this. For each of you, it might be slightly different, but the same, the context of writing. So you can see that's the workflow sequence that it will go through, each one. You can skip some of these, but I highly suggest that you take your time. I've always designed AI to build better content, not faster content. So I'd highly recommend that you go through every step that it recommends first, one at a time. And this builds up the context window slowly. So again, just little rundowns of a couple of things it can do. So this would be the inputs you can give Mirena from the start. Some of you from the Semantic SEO or the Holistic SEO group will want to give it a lot more details, source context and things like this. But for the average user, these would be the basic inputs that you would give it to get it started. The more information you give Mirena, the better output you'll get in the end. So we'll get to that now in a moment. I'll show you. So that's just the guide. I said quick start to run Mirena, just to give you an idea. That's just for content audits. So the first thing I did, I asked some people out there for some just ideas. This was a good friend of mine, John. He wanted an example to run eye infection for a business. That was an ENT, that's ear, nose, and throat, urgent care. The vertical, obviously, urgent care or healthcare. And this is an example brand, Hills Eye Clinic. And I said Geo is in Decatur, Georgia. So I went over, as I said, the more data you give it, the better. So I just put that into SEMrush and I started to download each and every piece of data I could find on it. I downloaded all of the keywords, all of the questions, and the clusters, and I also downloaded the SERPs. GPT is a great crawler, but I sometimes prefer to actually, personally, what I would do is I would upload PDF versions of my competitors. But for this example case, I'm just going to give it URLs. It is a good crawler, but some websites block crawlers, and then sometimes it's only going to partially pull out. So if you want the whole context from each page, you're always better just inputting that yourself. You can upload up to 20 files per prompt in GPT, and I think people really underutilize that a lot. So yeah, I downloaded all of these, just export each one, and this would be our example site, Hills Eye Clinic. We're going to use those today for the example. This unfortunately be quite a long video. I'm going to try make it as short as I can, but it's still going to be long because it's a long process. So right now I'm going to add the files. So my downloads here. Just going to grab those out. I'm going to open that. I need to come back for that PDF. I will in a second. Let me just grab that as well. So I've given a huge chunk of data there, keywords, SERPs, as much as I could. Again, as I said, the more data you give it, the better. You could, if it's for your own business, obviously, go in, give it to the about page, give it every piece of data you can on your own company. That your own company is the primary entity here. So give it as much data as you can and click go and let it process that data. You can also set it to extended thinking there if you want to give it more time, but just for the sake of this video, we're just going to do it quickly. So this won't be its best work, but it will just give you an idea. So once it's digested that data, you'll see here, it's given a small little entity map. It's just really had a quick look at the data. So it has the number there. So again, context is what we're building here for the GPT to work off. So files that I can go back and call upon again. Not too concerned about what it's putting up now. So as we said about the stack of agents and the steps, I think you'd be better pulling these into a CSV file somewhere because generally the steps are still the same. See, you have the steps here. So if I go and take out the first one, I'll just paste that in. I'm going to take out the second one as well, just for speed's sake. And I'm going to click go. let it read those documents. So first it's going to do entity extraction and waiting for that keyword. There's the brand, there's the geo. So eye infection treatment, and then the clinic. As I said, the brand itself is an important entity. You are an entity. But never forget that when you're using GPT, because if you do, it's going to give you generic content. So here's gone pulled out different types of entities and their weights. Local trusts. So we've got the address there, the phone number. So all of the good stuff that we'd want to get started. And it's going to refer back to those files then whenever it needs to as we go through as well. So the second step would be entity salience. So having all of the entities is great, but the salience to your task is more important than that. You know, you don't just stuff every entity you can find into content just because it's an entity. It has to be salient to you, your business. So step 2 was done there. So here you can even say, it's telling me to use CTA blocks, the address, the phone, and it's actually started to outline. So it started to make an outline here. But what I want you to do first is totally ignore that because we're going to build on that over time. So step 3, straight from the list, is entity contextual relevance. So we're going through 3 steps with entities alone here. As you said, we're going to layer up this contextual window. And then at the very end, we pull it all together. So what the page is and what the page is not. So here we have, I know nothing about this subject, by the way, so you forgive me if I'm going to skip over it because I know nothing about it. As you can see, what's out of scope, what's in scope, what we need, what we don't. So here we have some SERP intent. So this is a fun part as well. Not to be confused with LSI keywords. I know some of you might be triggered by LSI keywords, so so expansion cluster, symptom modifiers, high value long tails, entity variance. temporal attributes, symptoms, entity supported by the page, style, eyelid bumps, bacterial, follicle infection, pain, swelling, tearing. Sty in your eye. Expansion cluster for treatment. Then expansion cluster for near me modifiers. Near me is not a keyword. Near me is a geo modifier. So pink eye doctor, decatur. Sty treatment, decatur, eye doctor. Near decatur. Because I don't know this subject, it's quite boring and I can't talk on it really. So what I'll try focus on is actually Mirena's outputs itself. So competitor entity benchmarking, which is where it should go out and do a web search. Well, it probably already has that data, it has the URLs. Generally, you can tell it to do a web search if you want, where it's going to go out and it's going to look at the SERPs and it's going to pull in the entities being used out there outside of the language model itself. So here's the sites that it's pulling that from. And we like to do a couple of web searches in the whole stack. Just going to let that load. We can sing a song while it loads. Maybe not. This is an old PC, by the way. That's why it's lagging. It's not. It's not GPT. This PC or laptop is, I think it's its 16th birthday. So not too much CPU and RAM. There, she's finished there. So it's gone out, looked at a bunch of competitors, pulled in their entities, what they're using, what they're not using. Differentiation pattern, differentiation plan. It's a long word. So this is a popular word going around at the moment. Information gain. But as Google calls it, net new information. So if you're searching through patents, search for net new information rather than information gain. Steve Toth did a lot of good work around information gain a couple of years back, I remember. But recently I've seen it come up again. It's basically adding unique angles to the SERPs that's not already covered. So when we're building new content and we want Google to pick it up and index it, you have to be adding something new, something that's not already there. And this is where information gain comes into play. Personally, I recommend anywhere above 20% more new data. But generally speaking, I kind of let GPT decide that itself. but 20% is a good metric or a good target to aim for. Net new information to what's already out there. Unique angles. Sorry, I shouldn't have just blasted through that there. I'll let you have a look. Let you just have a quick look at that. So here we can go to cohesion and flow, which is very important in semantics. You can't just bang all of the information in randomly. It has to flow from one topic to its subtopic to the next to the next. It has to make sense to the search engine. So again, semantics isn't about just covering all of the entities and stuffing all of the entities onto the page randomly. It has to flow and make sense. And this is what it's doing here. So there's the goal, to make the page read like one clean decision journey. Better said than I just put it there. Problem, what it might be, what to do now, treatment, avoid, urgent, FAQs, and visit, with no orphan entities and no semantic drift. So nothing feels random. Every entity introduced must be resolved. So you'll have to forgive me, this will be a long video with plenty of silent moments. Bridging. So cohesive reading path, what the visitor experiences, top of the page, confirm, validate, give immediate action. FAQs, local wrap up. So again, it's pumping out a little kind of mini outline again. It's like this is what we're building on. As I mentioned earlier, the first outline is just the base, and then we build on that over time. And this part here, we're technically going to skip it. But if I have a sitemap, auto interlinking and entity linking, that's both in and out linking if you want. But if I have a sitemap, now would be the time to upload it. So it can auto interlink for us and identify links. So when I click this, it's probably just going to guess. But we'll go through it anyway because each step is important. And this is just an example. So as I said, at the auto interlinking, upload your sitemap then. You could actually upload the sitemap at the beginning too with all of that data, the first data to upload if you want. Again, I don't trust the crawler entirely, so I'd rather it went and actually had those URLs because I probably have a sneaking suspicion that some of them are non-existent. So yeah, always use the sitemap, your own sitemap. So that part I'm willing to just skip and ignore, to be honest, because I don't trust it. So the next step is the SERP feature optimization agent. This one will be kind of self-explanatory. It's actually one of Mirena's strongest points is winning SERP features. It's been an absolute beast at that for me with clients and projects I've been working on. And you can win SERP features very quickly as well. So you're not waiting so long to actually show up. So on the first snippet block, definition, symptoms, action. Just let it finish loading there. As I said, I could have put this on instant. I could have put this on extended thinking. I have it on thinking, which is quite slow. But obviously, the more time and resources you give it, the better. That seems to be doing quite well here anyway. So people always ask. Also, people also ask targets. But again, none of these questions will be verbatim in the final response as we're just building and building. So there may be more optimizations to those before we get to the end. So don't go pasting them out there thinking you have an outline or an article before we get to the end. Don't jump the gun, as they say. So I see we're 27 minutes in already. Now you know this is why I don't like making videos, because they take forever. And there's a lot of silence in them, because we're waiting on GPT to catch up. But I don't want to cut it short either. So, you know, then you might miss out on a few things. But this is a basic rundown anyway, to take a topic to draft. As it's noted there, I wasn't able to upload from the keyword files. So that's fine. Once I know that, I can try again. So this is not too bad because we reached a little problem there, and that happens with GPTs. I think the XLSX files suck. I was probably better off just putting them up as CSV. Should have thought this through, Kevin. The GPT parses some things better than others. Give it another try with the file. If not, we'll just continue. As I said, this is just an example, so nothing to worry about. No, it's saying it can't file. That's okay. That's okay, because I think it caught it the first time around anyway. Upload the CSV options. Okay, top tip for you, upload the CSV. Did its best. Right, let's get to the meat of it. The article outline agent. I think that's what everyone's been waiting for. As I said, file formats, you can figure out yourself what it reads best. It was just my mistake to upload the XLSX. I should have went with CSVs. Or sometimes I just paste out the whole thing, paste copy it in. So now we're getting to the meat of it. The page type, local service, urgent intent landing page. Keywords, there's the clinic. The goal is to convert for eye infection. That's the recommended URL. That's the existing URL. If someone wants to buy me a new laptop, go ahead. My my MacBook bricked a couple of months ago. The battery went in it. Anyone wants to send me over a new one, go ahead. It's on my list. So the title tag, eye infection treatment in Decatur GA. Yep. Meta descriptions, which I generally ignore for the most part. Google chooses their own. H1 matches the meta title. Just my tip, match your H1 to your meta titles. Don't try trick Google like keyword stuffing and randomizing H1s to meta titles. So that's the layout. Or the brief, I should say. Internal link placements. So how many sections do we have here? These are the final questions. So a lot of people always ask how to get long form content out of AI, and the answer is always quite simple. It's to not try to do it in a single shot of tokens, because you don't simply have enough tokens to get it out there. So what you do is just do it in sections. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I think say we've about 10 sections. So I'm going to tell it draft. It's the only time I actually have to type section 1 and 2 in Markdown. By default, I believe I have it set to HTML because I know a lot of SEOs just prefer the raw HTML output. But I noticed it puts a lot of class modifiers in there that don't exist and aren't very clean. So I just go with Markdown for now until I actually fix that. It was a nice idea at the start, but I might just have to change it. So if it pumps out HTML, just ask for it in Markdown. So the only time I have to type here really outside of the first prompt was right here just to say draft section 1 and 2. So I'm going to copy and paste that out. And I'm just going to switch it out as we go down 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way down. For those of you who made it this far in the video, congratulations. There's the double M dash. Told you, I'm not taking them out. I know how to use commas. It forces me to edit and actually read the content too. Don't be lazy. Always add human editing at the end. And as well with the blacklist AI words, I've done my best to try remove the most common ones. But occasionally you're going to see one or two just kind of slip in there. So always keep an eye on it. So perfect opening sentence, nice CTA, the primary entity. So a lot of people also as well, to address that, people complain about lists that AI makes. If the query deserves a list, it should be a list. Google likes to uh, index content that it can easily extract, chunk, and display in featured snippets. It doesn't want books. So if the inquiry, Mirena knows it's smart enough to say if a query implies a list, it's going to build one. So don't try and dictate to Mirena what you think, because quite honestly, generally what you think is wrong. No offense. Let Mirena decide. It hasn't let me down yet. I'm not afraid of lists. What I want for clients is results. If it's a list, it's a list. So if you're doing a how-to, it's probably going to have steps. Expect a list. If you're doing symptoms, it's probably going to be a list. So there's section 3 and 4 done there. If a comparison's going to be a table of entities, attributes, and values of each one. So, you know, options are going to probably be a list too. Yeah. Anyway, enough about lists. Now, as you said, sometimes these pop out. The word weather is becoming quite annoying, isn't it? Yeah, it's always weather. That's a new one. It's like whack-a-mole with the blacklist words. When you whack one down, another one pops up. And I think after you read like millions of words of GPT content, you start seeing more and more. So don't be afraid to go in afterwards. Change that weather to an if. If is good. Everything else looks good on it so far. So we're on section 5 and 6. I think for most of you, you could literally stop watching now unless you're interested in eye infections. But that was basically a rundown of how to get content from Mirena. And I hope you enjoyed the video. I doubt any of you have lasted this far. If you have lasted this far, link in description. Go buy yourself a copy. I have it at €20 a month, which is less than lunch for most people. Maybe it's rent for other people, but it seemed quite cheap enough. And the truth is, my overhead costs are practically zero once I've built this. So let's be fair with people as well. Oh, there's a word. Actually, that's another new word. It's becoming quite annoying. This is a Corey Tuberk always said that if you can remove a word from a sentence and the meaning doesn't change, remove it. And in this case, actually keeps popping up in GPT outputs. By simply removing it, the meaning of that sentence doesn't change. You know? So take it out. It's a GPT footprint. So I'll continue on, I think, till the end anyway, just for fun. So where are we on 3, 4, 5, 6? We're on 7, 8. If you've watched this long, you deserve it to see the end. Praying my mic worked. If this all comes out muted and I have to play like 45-minute soundtrack of music, I'm really sorry. Mm. So we're on section 7, 8. I think there was 10, was there? 9 or 10. There's a CTA there. I think it was 9 sections, but let's see. It'll probably just throw in a 10th one. If you hear that in the background, excuse me, that was my son. He's got allergies. He's doing his best to be quiet, so. So yeah, this was my low-key, low-energy, step-by-step Mirena walkthrough. As slowly, as carefully, and as best I could do without giving away any of my own clients' data. This one came in from a good friend of mine, John. Thank you very much, John, because my mind just goes blank when I'm looking for examples. I know a couple more of you asked in the chat. I asked yesterday, give me some examples you want me to do. And this was the first one from John. So thanks very much, John, for that. I know absolutely nothing about this subject, so I'm hoping that it reads and looks good. I'm hoping that you are giving me an example too, but I'll share this with you later anyway. This client as well, I just chose this randomly, by the way. This is not John's client. So don't go hitting those people up looking for SEO. I just picked this randomly from the SERP. So yeah, there was no section 10, there was only section 9. So yeah, that's the entire video, folks, and that is Mirena. If you made it to the end, you deserve a medal. We're 45 minutes in. You said it took an hour to create content. Well, absolutely, it takes an hour to create a good article, proper article, optimized article. We use AI to make better content, not faster content. And if you get on board with me like that, happy days. All right, folks, enjoy it. Talk to you soon. Bye bye.